many. I did 2 paper rounds. No one gets delivered papers these days. And then a lot of time on the golf course, as many of my students will know because I bang on about it all the time.
Not just students, the staff as well.
Oh, the staff as well. Yes, the staff know plenty about that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the TeacherPod. Today we are interviewing one of our senior members of staff, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So, who are you and what do you do?
Hello everyone, my name's Mr Starkey, and I'm assistant principal here at Chobham. I joined here when we opened in 2013 as the head of PE, and then after a couple of years became assistant principal, and that's where I've been ever since.
So, Mr Starkey, tell us about your background.
Okay, my background, I was brought up in North Kent, about 30, 40 minutes from here, drive from here, 15 minutes on the train. My background was in a comprehensive education, where I just thrived in sport. That's all I was really interested in, if I'm honest with you. Obviously, I made the effort to make sure I got good grades across the board, but all I did day in, day out was so much sport. And my parents were incredibly supportive of that, took me to all my sports fixtures, whether that be football, golf, anything that I was asked to take part in with regards to school, athletics competitions and so on and so forth.
What kind of a student were you at school, Mr Starkey?
I think I've kind of, the student I was at school was, I've kind of touched on this already. When it came to practical lessons, I loved them. That's what I thrived on. I was very hands-on, but as I said, particularly in PE, which will come as no surprise to many of you. I did I did enough to get by. Possibly one of my regrets, not working harder, but I did enough to get by to make sure I got the grades to get on to the next level to where I needed to get to. So at GCSE to get onto A level, at A level to get onto my degree course that I wanted to get onto. I should have probably worked harder. I'm sure we'll come on to that shortly. But that's the kind of student I was.
Tell us about a job you had before education, something that not many people know about you.
Okay, one of the jobs I had before education, I had many. I did 2 paper rounds. No one gets delivered papers these days. I worked in a newsagent, but one of the ones I most enjoyed was I got into football coaching when I was about 16 or 17, when I was basically told I wasn't good enough to be a professional footballer. I got into coaching football, and I found myself in America working at Harvard University on the women's soccer camps. To work at such a prestigious university in the environment that I was working in, which was in a country that's so pro sport, and you get so much out of being a good sports person when it comes to education, was a real privilege, and is definitely a standout on my CV.
So why did you decide then to get into education yourself?
I got into education myself. As I said, I just touched on it there really. At 16, I was told I wasn't good enough. I got rejected from Gillingham, it was, to play football. And you know it's low when you're getting rejected from Gillingham. So, you know, I loved football. All I wanted to do was be involved in sport. I wanted to be outdoors. I didn't want to be behind a desk doing a 9 till 5. So I found myself going down the football education route. And then before you know it, I found myself on a postgraduate certificate in education to become a PE teacher at East London University, and that was in 2003.
What does an outstanding student look like to you? It might be in PE, it might be general, but an outstanding student.
An outstanding student for me would be, aside from all the buzzwords, would be someone who wants to grasp every opportunity that's put in front of them. There's so many opportunities out there, especially in the areas that we live and work at the moment in East London because of the Olympic Park. You look over at Here East, and I don't honestly feel that enough students take those opportunities that are put in front of them quickly enough. You're looking at rounded education. You're looking at taking these opportunities into university and then into the workplace as well. So I could definitely recommend doing that going forward, looking what's out there, going on the internet and finding what you can be involved in outside of the school day for sure.
What do you like to do at weekends?
Mr. Avery, now at weekends, I'm too old to play football. My legs hurt too much the next day. I spend a lot of time with the kids and then a lot of time on the golf course, as many of my students will know because I bang on about it all the time.
Not just the students, the staff as well.
Oh, the staff as well. Yes, the staff know plenty about that.
Who inspires you and why?
Who inspires me and why? Really good question. Look, you could say your parents and so on and so forth, but it would have to be anyone that's overcome adversity to be successful. They inspire me. Anyone who's had a difficult start, anyone who hasn't had a leg up and have worked really, really hard to make something of themselves, inspire me. Along with, and it's highlighted for me in the last year or so, that the healthcare workers, they inspire me a lot because obviously with the current pandemic and so on and so forth, but you know, everything they do is just incredible.
So as you said, you started at Chobham Academy when it first opened. You're part of the OGs, as everyone says. There aren't many left. But
No.
What would you say is your favourite thing about Chobham Academy?
My favourite thing about Chobham Academy, look, I've been here 8 years, and the reason I've been here 8 years is because of the students and the students we have at Chobham Academy. We have such a diverse community from all different backgrounds, and I love that. I love being involved in that. You know, I wasn't brought up in a diverse area, and since working in East London for nearly 20 years now, it's really opened my eyes and made me realise what is out there. So it's without doubt the students and the community that we work in for sure.
And finally, if you could go back to a 15-year-old Mr Starkey, what would you tell him? What worldly advice would you tell him and why? If
I could go back to a 15-year-old Mr Starkey, it would be to come off the football pitch 30 minutes earlier, 45 minutes earlier and read more, read a lot more, read a variety of books, read biographies, read fiction, read education books. It's only in the last 5 years really that I've got into reading. I still probably don't read enough. I do want to read more, but it's so relaxing. It's really good to take your mind away, and you know, you learn so much from it. Your vocabulary improves. So it's without a doubt to go and do that, because I struggled to open a book when I was 15, and it's a big regret. Definitely.
That's it. Thank you so much, Mr Starkey, for your time. I hope you have a great day, and hopefully students will be able to see you again soon, and we'll get everything back to normal.
Thank you, Mr Avery, for putting this together. It's much appreciated. Great to see.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.